Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to my Shit I Have Learned video series. Yeah. So, picture this. I'm halfway around the world in an area called Micronesia. I'm diving on probably the greatest selection of shipwrecks in the world. Shipwrecks, Japanese shipwrecks from 1942. The U.S. Navy sunk about 60 of them, including submarines, um, airplanes, there's tanks, there's trucks, there's torpedoes, there's bombs, there's huge bullets, machine guns, bicycles, beer, everything you can imagine to equip an offshore settlement is being resupplied on a regular basis. So I'm diving in Truk Lagoon. I've got 2,500 dives around the world, very experienced diver. It's the second time I've been to Truk Lagoon, both times for 2 weeks, 5 dives a day. So there's a lot of diving that's going on. And there's going to be a few stories on Truk Lagoon because there was a few circumstances that came up. So I'm diving on a Koku Maru. The front half was blown off when it was sunk by the U.S. Navy. And it's down around 220 feet deep, which is way past recreational diving at 130. And most people, even in recreational, they don't dive that deep. I like to dive deep. I like the feeling of the pressure on me. I like the onset of nitrogen narcosis, but not ever getting into it because I just like that feeling. So normally when you go on a dive trip like this, you're living on a liveaboard boat, which I was, the Thorfinn, which is a Canadian-owned boat retrofitted from a whaling ship at one time in the 50s, I guess. And so I'm diving. At this point, I'm the only one on the boat. So myself and the dive master are going down to these ships. Diving down 210 feet. Generally speaking, you have sort of valet type diving where they set up all your gear and you just get on the boat and then they help you get off the boat and get into the water and they help you up when you come back up. Well, it's a little bit different on this trip here. You set up all your own equipment. You know, they supply all of the air in the tanks and they supply a guide who knows these ships inside out and backwards. So we go down, diving down, heading down the stringer line that's fastened from a buoy about 10 feet, 15 feet under the surface, all the way down to the ship deck. Front half of it's blown off, hundreds of meters away into this huge crater. And when I get down to about 200 feet, I'm having a hard time breathing through my regulator. And this hasn't happened before. And so I'm looking at my gauge. I've got an air integrated computerized computer on my wrist, which is air integrated with a transmitter on my tank. And I can see that I got plenty of air and I don't see any foul ups that could be happening at this. So I go to my second stage to see if it's the same. Maybe it's just my regulator that's fouling up. So I breathe through that and it's hard to breathe. Like you're really having to suck up. And so a lot of things are now going through my mind. Holy shit, if I have to make a free ascent 200 feet up to that surface with the nitrogen that's already been pooling in my body, little tiny nitrogen gas bubbles in me, they're going to expand. I could have an embolism in my lungs, die from that. I could have a squeeze on, my nervous system. Chances are I'm not going to live coming out of this. So my head is searching around. What is going on? And the dive guide's up ahead of me. And he looks at me and I go, no air. And so he comes over. I do have a secondary air gauge, analog. And I noticed when I breathed into it that it flickered. And that indicates that your air is not turned all the way on. So I had him turn my air on and then everything seemed to be fine after that. And we went on and had the rest of our dive. What did I learn from this? Well, I learned that you are, and it's going to be a running theme on absolutely everything, And 9 times out of 10, it's pilot error when things go wrong, right? You are in control. So I learned again that you are 100% responsible for yourself and your safety. You have to check your equipment. It's a very integral part of buddy diving when you're learning how to scuba dive and so on. And it really doesn't matter how experienced you are. You're going to run into situations out there that you have to think. So another thing, you have to stay calm to allow yourself to think and not get, all flustered and freaking out. You gotta just suck it up and slow down a little bit. You gotta pay attention to the little things because they're just as important as the big things. So, anyways, these are kind of some of my little tales of shit that I have learned. Thanks for listening.